Hello, and welcome back to another document deep dive. And we're on Google Earth. This is the town of Siegburg, which somewhat epically translates to Victory Castle, but it's because of the Sieg River that you can see down here. So it doesn't have anything to do with victory directly. Now, this is a Western German town, relatively close, if you look here, relatively close to the Cologne area. And this town in 1945 was declared a fortress very briefly. There was fighting here, mostly by the US 97th Infantry Division, which took the town on April 9th and 10th, 1945, during the liquidation of the Ruhr pocket. And this is what we will look at today, because this fortress, so to speak, was defended by a quite interesting German infantry unit, the 353rd Infantry Division. Now, this infantry division was a kind of latecomer. It was part of the 21st wave and was created in 1943, so fairly late in the war. And it fought almost to its destruction in Normandy. After Normandy, it was refreshed, mostly with second-rate troops, in November 1944. And then it was pushed back into the west of Germany, river by river, basically. So we are going to look at, the defense, the last final stand defense in the Ruhr pocket. So this is the 353rd Infantry Division. One thing that I find interesting, the more famous 1943 created division was the 352nd Infantry Division, which fought at Omaha Beach. They defended there. And that one was also reconstituted as a Volksgrenadier Division. However, the 353rd Division remained a normal infantry division, and I'm not 100% sure why that is. Now, if we look here, they're utterly depleted at this point. This is the 1st of March 1945, and many of the forces are not actually under the control of the division at this point. This is what this means. Now, the documents we will look at later will actually be from April, directly from the battle, so this was a month before that. But it shows that the infantry here was fairly depleted. Here, this battalion, for example, had 2 infantry companies with 2 light machine guns each, 3 light machine guns here, 4 here. We can see some Italian guns that they had, 75 millimeter howitzers, I'm gonna guess, or infantry guns, something like that were in support. The Fusilier battalion was not existent. In terms of artillery, one battalion of artillery was again not there, the third one. This one was equipped in part with 12.2 centimeter Russian guns, as well as the normal 10.5 centimeter ones, 15 centimeter here, 10.5, 10.5, 10.5. No 10 centimeter long guns, and not the correct amount of heavy ones. But yeah, they did still have artillery, and if you look at the tank hunting group, there was apparently a Begleit group here for their Stucks or Hetzers, and there was Flak 2 centimeter and 3.7 centimeter, and also I guess one Pak 40 was left. So there's that, and then you have the pioneers were still there, but yeah, amazingly depleted. Now let's look at their small arms. So, this is what they reported on the 1st of March. We have 44 SDGs, 94 submachine guns, I don't know exactly, 330 pistols or maybe 830 pistols. Those are normal rifles, 66 self-loading rifles, so G43s probably, 4 sniper rifles, 28 rifle grenade launchers, 42 Panzerschrecks, 8 Puppchen actually. So these are the Panzerschrecks that are kind of on a wheeled gun carriage, kind of unusual, especially this late in the war. 10 MG34s. This is also weird that they mention those here, because usually the German MGs are just put into the normal chart. So I'm guessing the ones in the charts are MG42s, and then 14 8cm mortars, 2 120mm mortars without ammunition, 4 flamethrowers, and then, now this is interesting, 10 7.9mm flak feeling. Now, flak feelings usually were 20mm, so I don't know exactly what weapon this is. This must be some kind of contraption with 4 7.9mm MGs bolted together. It says here unusable. But as you will see later, they did actually get put into use somehow. But yeah, I don't know what this is. If anybody has an idea, it might really just be like 4 MG34s bolted together or something, I don't know. And then 2 additional light filter widths, apparently. They also report 11 French rifles and the field cannons, the Italian field cannons that I already mentioned. Now, as I already mentioned, normally it's quite unusual to find German documents this late in the American archives, but I did in this case. I am guessing these were actually captured during the battle on the 9th or 10th of April by the 97th American Division. Now, luckily, well, yeah, so not a lot survived, but there's one folder that they apparently captured that contained orders. And luckily, as it says here, in the future, raiding operations shall be ordered according to the model shown in the appendix. 2 copies, one of which is for presentation to the division, shall be submitted to the regiment. So even in April 1945, the paperwork just had to be done. So there are a few orders for raiding operations that the 353rd Division tried. Sadly, there are no after-action reports, just the orders, so we don't know how they actually went. It is, by the way, quite possible, as you will see later, due to the low morale, that they just deserted instead of doing the raiding operation. At least there's one document that offhandedly mentions that scout parties often don't return. So it's quite possible that these operations we will be talking about ended with them just getting captured. Not by mistake, but it's hard to tell. Alright, now this is one of these orders. There are all in all 4. I will show 2 of them. And now the first thing that's interesting, it says here Kampfkommandant, so Battle Commander Friedrich Wilhelmshütte. Now this is, I think, because this was declared a fortress. It's from the 3rd of April, by the way. This is because this is declared a fortress, and it was apparently like the combat area was divided into different districts. Because this is not the name of the commander, as you might expect. This is the name of a German firm that makes steel, or made steel. I think it's gone bust now. But so this apparently was the district that defended that firm's factory. Now, going back to Google Earth, here's Siegburg, and then over here, this factory is from that firm, and this district here, Friedrich Wilhelmshütte, is named after that firm. Probably this was established to provide housing to the workers, and the front would have been along the Sieg River here at this point, and probably the defense centered on this area, and that's what the Kampfkommandant was in charge of. I will stay here now and in Google Earth and just read out the order and, while not showing it. So, order for the conduct of a raiding operation. The combat group will conduct a raiding operation at 11 p.m. on April 3rd, 1945. So the shock troop leader will be Lieutenant Langloh. And now we will switch over to the document to look at troops and armament. And so we have here the troops, 2 NCOs from Company Hertha, 1 NCO and 1 man from Company Sommer, and 2 men from the staff, right? Staff company. And here's the armament: 7 STGs, 1 flare gun, 3 Panzerfaust, 1 explosive charge, 12 hand grenades. Then mission. Reconnaissance of enemy supply facilities, ammunition depots, fuel depots, food depots at Hangela Airfield. Destroy enemy motorized vehicles, capture prisoners. And we will switch back to Google Earth. Alright, back here. And the airfield Hangela is down here. So this was the target. So quite far down here, I would say. I will read from the document further. Number 6, route. For this purpose, the shock troop will cross the Sieg River at 11 p.m. at the ford, approximately 300 meters west of the Niedermenden railway line to Friedrich Wilhelmshütte. So my guess is that it's here. So this will be that railway line, because this one here is Menden or Niedermenden. And this obviously Friedrich Wilhelmshütte, sorry. So 300 meters west of that, so in this area here they wanted to cross. work its way between Menden Station and western edge Niedermenden to the railway line, cross it, and then advance south towards Hangela Airfield. So along the railway line, I guess, like this. Return route, same as approach route. And then it says here for the flare guns, light signals, red, means operation recognized by the enemy, assault troop under attack by stronger enemy forces. And this was also to trigger an artillery strike, a prepared one. And white, here we are, fired by the assault troop when they have reached the south bank of the Sieg River for crossing on their way back after completing their mission, to not get friendly fired at. Alright, so yeah, that's an example of a really late war raiding party that may or may not have immediately deserted, I don't know. So the other district was Kampfkommandant Siegburg, or he was in charge of that. And they were also in the same night also wanted to do a raiding party. So it's here. Order for the conduct of a shock troop operation on April 3rd, 1945. Number 1, Combat Commander Siegburg will conduct a shock troop operation against Siegburg-Mühldorf on the night of April 3rd to 4th, 1945. Leader, Company Führer, 1st Company, Lieutenant Babmund, something like that. Strength, 1 officer, 5 NCOs, 16 enlisted men, so quite a bit stronger. Organization, so it's divided into A, B, and C. A, okay, here it says maybe Rapmund? Okay, this is the actual assault group by Lieutenant Rapmund, 2 to 7, so 2 officers or NCOs, 7 enlisted men. B, covering troop, 2 to 5, and C, security troop, 1 to 4. And here's the equipment, so the assault troop, 3 Sturmgewehre, 4 MP-38, 3 Lugers, 4 Panzerfaust, 30 hand grenades, and 2 boats that they still had to organize apparently. The covering troop had 2 MG, 2 Schnellfeuergewehr, which is an uncommon way of saying, it basically means a fast-firing rifle, my guess is G43, 3 carbines, 15 hand grenades, 2 boats, and then a security troop, which was to remain on the other side of the river, 2 MG, 3 carbines. So all in all 4 MGs for this, and the light automatic weapons were in the assault troop. And then it goes on here, and for that we will go back to the map. Now we are here and we go over to Siegburg here, and it says here, A, shock troop, break into identified enemy positions on the northern edge of Mühldorf, capture prisoners and destroy the observation post identified there. And if we see here, this is marked as Mühldorf here. I don't know if this is the only part that was called Mühldorf back then, or if this whole area was that, but it's about this sector here. Right? B, cover troop, capture the enemy listening post at the Sieg Bridge, which is here, or maybe it was in a slightly different, but today it's here, at the Sieg Bridge, and secure the road from Mühldorf to the north and south. And then security troops secure the crossing movement against identified enemy positions on the northwest and northern edges of the brickworks. Now, brickworks apparently are this area here, but they weren't to cross the river, they just had to cover. So my guess is that even though this is marked as Mühldorf, the operation may have been more in this sector, or at least this is where apparently enemy positions were that they had to cover against. It then goes on to say route. The assault troops positions west of the bridge cross the Sieg River, approximately 150 meters west of the bridge, overcome the flood embankment, advance southwest to the railway embankment, and here I wonder if they mean, because this here is obviously a railroad embankment, if they mean that, or if there was a different one down here where now the Autobahn is, which probably wasn't there back then. Or, I mean, not probably, it wasn't there back then. So this is interesting question. You would have to look at a map for that, an old map. From there, in 2 groups towards the edge of the village, cross the main road and return to the position in the east-facing ditch over the footbridge. So yeah, it must have been in this area, the crossing. but not exactly clear where. Cover troops position east of the bridge, so somewhere here. Cross the Sieg River approximately 150 meters southeast, advance along the road to Mühldorf, and return after the assault troops return from Mühldorf in the east-facing ditch over the bridge footbridge to the position. So assault troop here, covering troop here. Kind of weird, but okay. And then security troops position 150 meters east of the bridge, also here. Advance to the Sieg valley, so just into this area at the edge of the river, I'm guessing. And 150 meters forward of the position, then return. So they were to give covering fire with their 2 MGs from here, and then return back after everything was done. Again, we don't know how this went, but this is what they planned. So 2 boats across here, 2 boats across here. Okay, next up I want to give you a general impression of the morale and the situation at the time. So this is also inside this folder here. This is directed actually at the civilian population. It says here, comrades within the combat area or combat zone of the Sieg district. Total evacuation. Your lives are at stake. Could it get any worse when the Anglo-Americans come, some ask, in view of the bombed-out towns, villages and farms and the nerve-wracking air raids day and night? Think of the fate of the lost to live in a slave existence under the thumb of the Anglo-American soldiers. It was observed how about 50 civilians were led in Hennef towards Büsdorf. According to the latest reports, the population in the Rhine towns of the Siegkreis was evacuated by the Anglo-Americans to the left bank of the Rhine. German soldiers observed how German men from Büsdorf were led under heavy guard towards Niederpleis, thus likely being separated from their families forever. Black troops have been moved into Honnef, the horror. The population was crammed into the tightest spaces. Hunger and misery are bearing a terrible toll. A mayor of the city of Stolberg on the left bank of the Rhine, appointed by the Americans, has declared that the population must survive on a plate of thin soup and the occasional 1 or 2 slices of bread a day. In 9 weeks, 125 grams of butter per person could only be distributed once. I should say that I have no way of checking if this is actually the case or exaggerated or whatever. And it goes on here. All of this would be your fate under the bloody regime of our enemies. Concern and a sense of responsibility for defenseless men, women and children therefore make an early total evacuation urgently necessary. Remember your sense of responsibility towards your families. Consider that your home may still be lost to friendly artillery fire in the course of the fighting. Germany is now smaller and the accommodations for the evacuees and transport connections have deteriorated as a result, but you still have the certainty of having a roof over your head even after the evacuation. The decision to initially venture into the unknown is easier to bear compared to the worries and hardships that await you in enemy-occupied territory. And then they get a bit authoritarian here then. Anyone who expects mercy by raising the white flag is not only a suicide but also a cowardly traitor by displaying this sign of surrender. Cowardly traitor underlined here extra. A people bravely fighting for their lives will not allow themselves to be disgraced in the face of enemies driven by a desire for destruction. Therefore, if you want to escape murder, rape, forced labor and starvation, follow the call for total evacuation. Destroy everything that could be of use to the enemy if you cannot take it with you. This, too, will contribute to the change that will give you back your homeland. Change, it's translated it as change, it means die Wende, which basically means the turnaround. The organizational implementation of the evacuation is in the hands of a responsible local group. Further information can be obtained there. Thiel, district commander or district leader. Now, in order to find the necessary heroes for this last battle, they apparently went along to find people to put into the trenches. So this is a report about that. Combing operation of the Michelsberg bunkers, Pioneer Park and the Tunnel 1 Siegburg. Jagdkommando Siegburg, with a strength of 2 officers and 25 enlisted men from 10:30 p.m. on March 27th to 2 a.m. on March 28th. The following were arrested. And then it's a long list. I will only read out the first two. I can show the rest as well, or at least from that page. So first of all, NCO Christian Hohn was arrested, Landesschützenbattalion 254, Duisburg, 2nd Company, born on January 4th, 1889 in Holzler Siegkreis or Sieg District, resident of Siegburg, Hermann Göring Straße 1, March 23rd, 1945, marching orders from Lüdenscheid via Siegburg to Osnabrück with convalescent leave from February 26 to March 13 in Siegburg, reported to the Siegburg headquarters on February 27, 1945. On March 12, 1945, the Siegburg garrison doctor declared him unfit to travel until further notice. He has not seen a doctor since then. Unauthorized removal from the troops. It then says here basement of the local district court. I don't know what that means. If he was brought there for sentencing or something like that. Anyway, next up, Volkssturm so Volkssturm member Wilhelm Röttgen, born on January 1st, 1891, Siegburg, residing in Siegburg, Augusta-Straße 52. According to the Volkssturm certificate of the 5th Company of the 1272nd something, dated March 10, 1945, he is unfit for service in the Volkssturm untauglich. Discharged by me on March 28, 1945 at 8:15 p.m. with instructions to report to the combat commander in Siegburg on March 28, 1945 at 10 a.m. The Volkssturm certificate dated March 10 has been retained. Pioneer Park Tunnel. So basically this guy had been declared unfit for the Volkssturm. They got that paper from him and sent him to the commander, the battle commander Siegburg, to be used. And now interestingly, this battle commander has actually filed various reports, daily reports in fact, on his unit, which seems to have been, it's not entirely clear to me, but it seems to have been some cobbled together alarm company that he got, and this might be where this Volkssturm guy, this unfortunate dude, was sent to. Okay, so this is that company, and as you can see, so first of all, there's a situation report what the enemy is doing, and it just says there were various artillery and mortar impacts, stuff like that, so nothing very interesting. So this is on the 9th of April 1945, so this must be the one of the last documents that were filed, because as I said, the battle was over on the 10th and the city captured, and I think the division basically destroyed. Now it says here how many people they had, first the 8th of April, then the 9th of April. And so one officer in charge, 9 NCOs, then you have the men here, and the Volkssturm were counted separately here. So it was kind of half enlisted men, possibly from various Landesschützen battalions or other combed out troops, and half roughly Volkssturm guys. Now in terms of weapons, what we see here are 2 medium mortars. And then, now it gets interesting, 2 Vierlings MG. So these might be those weird 7.9 millimeter MGs that they mentioned. So apparently, because in the March document they said these were not usable, apparently they got them in combat. So this company at least got assigned 2 of these, and they had 3,200 rounds for them. And then they had 1 heavy MG42 and 4 light MG42. So this might be in roughly reinforced platoon strength the standard troops, the standard Wehrmacht troops. And then for the Volkssturm, I'm guessing they had 9 Danish MGs, so these would have been Metzens. There were also 2 SDGs, 1 fast-firing rifle, probably G43, 2 normal machine pistols, 56 carbines, 17 Greek rifles, randomly, 4 Luger pistols, and then 3 flare guns, and here it says the colors that were available and how many, interestingly, and this here is a one that additionally makes some kind of whistling sound and then explodes blue. 80 egg hand grenades and 40 Faustpatrone Groß, so these would be the big Panzerfaust, probably Panzerfaust 60 or Panzerfaust 100 would be my guess. And then down here it says how many shots they fired from each of these weapons in the last 2 days, I'm guessing. And they didn't lose any men, although that would probably change pretty soon. Lastly, I want to read out this one here. That's a daily order from the 31st of March, so a bit further back in time, which further shows how the troops were to be motivated at this point. So it says here, Sergeant Adolf Dauber, Grenadier Regiment 943, was sentenced to death and loss of military service by a court-martial. The death sentence was carried out immediately by order of the court-martial judge. Sergeant Dauber was assigned as a platoon commander in a sector along the Sieg River. He had reason to believe that the enemy would attack his platoon's flank. He and several members of his platoon who were close to him retreated to a hill behind the positions. When he noticed that during the night a military unit was actually advancing from the expected direction of attack into the flank of his platoon, he took this to be the expected attack, but did not engage in battle. Instead, he remained idle and watched as the supposed enemy advanced into his platoon sector from the rear. He then withdrew, with the men remaining with him, without seeking contact with his company, far into the rear area, where he reported to another company. In fact, the troop he suspected of being the enemy was actually the relief unit for his platoon. The incident must be reported immediately and made the subject of detailed instruction. And yeah, that's apparently the divisional commander. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a nice day.